We've got an awesome show for you today, so let's get started. Screw your freedom.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Oh, we can handle the truth, can't we, folks? You bet. You want the truth? This little man right here. He had to come out today. I guess he did a little bit of talking in front of Congress, and he had some things to say. Folks, I am sick and tired of these people out here. They imply that they have power that does not exist. It's terrible, folks. It's SHTF, and we can expect more and more and more of this. But it doesn't frustrate me less. It doesn't make me numb to it. I'm not used to it. I'm not agreeing with it. I'm not capitulating. I'm not bowing down. It just pisses me off, and I'm waiting. We got some work going on in the office here, and so I've got the camouflage screen up, and I don't know what's beeping at me now. Anyways, Dr. Fauci, get this right on COVID lockdowns. He has implied power, and he has a willingness to do things even when he doesn't want to, as if the little bastard is a king or a god or something like that. You know, as a dad. As a parent, you say, I don't want to have to do this to you, kiddo, but you made a mistake, so I'm going to have to punish you for your own good, It's to teach you a lesson. It's the same thing coming from a very small, very insignificant, very idiotic little man. Says Fauci Maleficent, quote, I don't like mandating things. I don't like punishing people for not doing something, he said. You don't get to, you little creep, you sick little bastard. You are nobody. You are just another opinion, and one that has taken millions and millions and millions of dollars from pharmaceutical companies. Why would anyone trust you, you little turd of a human? Here's what I have to say, though. Folks, I don't want to be in a war. I don't want to have to kill communists. Right? Is that the same type of attitude? Right? Well, I don't like killing communists, and I don't like punishing communists for not quitting, giving up. But if they don't do as I want, I'll just have to kill them. Right? That's the attitude he has towards us, like we're the enemy. I don't want to have to do this, but you people brought it on yourselves. No, we didn't. Are you prepared, though? Are you prepared, folks? And on top of everything else, you're going to love this one.
Near 3321 Pasadena Avenue, suspect's vehicle at location.
Hey, guess what? There's a Biden bonus record that happened today. Now, we've been saying, hey, look, new gas price record every day for 8 straight days in a row. But there's a bonus record in here for the Biden and his Biden syndicate. Gas prices have hit $4 a gallon in every single state, all 50, as Barack Obama said, all 57 states. For the very first time ever, we have broken $4 in every single state. Biden, you own it, buddy. You own it. You may as well step right up. This is going to be the monologue and the Q&A, question and answer session with you guys, only on Patreon, only for patrons. So if you want to join the conversation, all you have to do is sign up at patreon.com, sign up, right, for the Prepared Mind, and you can come on Monday through Friday and ask questions. Bring us your comments, your thoughts, your ideas, your anything, including Stump the John, This is incredible, folks, what is happening right now. And people are taking this. I think far too many people are just taking it in stride. Like, yeah, this is how this works. This is what government's supposed to do. This is how the world goes, I guess. I guess I'm just going to live with this shit. Well, we don't have a lot of choice about living with it, liking it, tolerating it. It's incredible, folks. This story is not going to go away, by the way. Yeah, you know, babies. I had 2 sons. People have sons, people have daughters, small families, large families. It's incredible how, when you have children, how you want to protect them, how incredibly important they become. Now, on the other side of the aisle, or maybe we should say, from the depths of hell come Democrats who don't love their babies and who want to kill them. In fact, there is now legislation being proposed in California that you can kill your baby up to, I think, 4 weeks after it's born. Are you kidding me? It is not just unconstitutional. It is evil beyond imagination. So I guess if they can't kill babies that way with abortion, I guess Democrats want to starve them out. And this is real, folks. This is 100% real if it's your baby. Like I said, when we see news somewhere else, we're like, yeah, they're exaggerating it. Well, when I went to the store, I saw baby formula, so there's really no problem. Well, doctors can't get formula in some places for sick children that are hospitalized, right? Children, babies that are in the hospitals, they're having trouble getting formula. How real are the SHTF shortages? Ask yourself that, folks. How real is this? Remember when you couldn't get Armageddon Chow for a while, right? Look at the fuel prices going up. I remember every little instance of shortages going, where is it? Right? I can't get a car part. You can't fix things. You can't get lumber in America. This is 100% real. We need to tell our friends, tell our families, tell everyone. It is real. Now, it's bad one week and then it's better the next one. We're just supposed to forget about it. Inflation goes up tremendously and then it kind of levels off for a couple of days and we're just supposed to forget it. Oh, it's transient. It is not, folks. What they are doing is not transient. I thought and hoped and prayed, and because I wanted it to happen, kept thinking Fauci will go away. Cerveza bug will go away. They played that card too many times, yet the little bastard is back. And in New York State, New York City, they're saying, uh-oh, we have too much cerveza bug. Everyone, it's recommended you put on your mask and cover your nose and your mouth. It didn't work then. It didn't work years ago. It's not. What makes them think it's going to work now? This is real, folks. The shortages are real. The food shortages are going to become more real, more problematic. Inflation is going to become more real, more problematic. When will the people we know wake up? When are they going to wake up and smell the coffee on this? But I'm going to go away from the doom and gloom and give you this one, right? SHTF is real. It is here, and we're continuing to go down into it. But folks, we, as in you and me, patriots in America, we are fighting, and we're winning some battles. Never give up. Never quit. Never give up. These people are not going to win just because they're in seats of power, because we are starting to win back seats of power. State legislatures, folks, are passing laws for elections and medical freedoms. I have an article that I can't read directly because, censorship by the self-proclaimed communists who don't care about freedom of speech. In fact, they're anti-freedom of speech, and they admit it. They continue to admit it. They would shut this channel down in a second if I read what the legislature, folks, in Missouri has done. They passed a bill that prohibits pharmacists from questioning the effectiveness of horse medication. And doctors in Missouri cannot be punished, examined, censored, suspended, or anything for prescribing the known medications for treating horse parasites infections, right? Horse medicines. There's one that starts with I, and there's one that starts with HYDRO, right? Thank God Missouri passes this. Tennessee has over-the-counter horse dewormer. And now Missouri has said, hey, you can't question, you can't punish, you can't stop it. Pharmacists are not doctors. They can't stop it. This is beautiful stuff, folks. There are wins. We are waking up. People are paying attention. It is time to fight back. It really is. Right? Down in Florida, Governor DeSantis is continuing to fight back. Over in Texas, Governor Abbott is fighting back. Over in Arizona, even, Governor Ducey is going to send illegal immigrants to Washington, D.C. Good. Good, good, good. And while all of this happens, right, Joe Biden, President Xi Biden, guess what he's done? He went to Buffalo. He didn't go to Waukesha. He didn't go where people were run over by an anti-American screwball terrorist, racist, but he did go where a left-wing white racist, that's right, folks, a socialist racist, killed some black folks. And the man who got 81 million votes has set a new record here, folks. He had 821 people live tune into his presentation. It's incredible, right? Let's just say, 81 million, but only 821 wanted to hear him. Once again, we've demonstrated that we talk to a whole lot more people than the president does. Of course, everyone gets to hear about what he does because CNN doesn't take our conversations and make headlines out of them. But this is just it. Nobody cares what he says. But what did he say? What did Joe Biden say when he showed up at the Buffalo store, Buffalo, New York? He said the Republicans are to blame for what happened. After a socialist, a left-wing, Green New Deal loving, Build Back Better, Biden Democrat socialist kills black people. It's kind of interesting, is it not? Because it was the Democrats who opposed the civil rights movement in the 60s. It was, folks. That's exactly who it was. The racist attitudes coming from the left. But they're going to continue, folks, to just lie and make shit up and just blame everyone else for what goes wrong. Now, this was an interesting development. We're talking about baby food and baby food shortages, that even some hospitals can't get it because in particular areas, I have a funny feeling that people are beginning to hoard what is available. Let's see, I caught a news story that the factory that has started back up, it's still going to be 4 to 8 weeks before they get any food from the beginning of the process out into stores. So they've shut a factory down for 3 months, and it's going to take another 2 to get food to babies. Expect the problem to get worse. Now, in England, folks, the Bank of England governor, it's very similar to here, Chief Goon Powell of the Federal Reserve, right? Kind of like the chairman of the board. The governor for the Bank of England has warned of apocalyptic food shortages, folks. Apocalyptic. That's his word, his expression. Apocalyptic food shortages. Let's see. What is the apocalypse? It was the dire prediction from the Bible about the end times. It's interesting. End times, huh, Governor? End times. Out came the four horsemen, right? You got death, pestilence, war, and famine. That's right. Starvation, famine, hunger, apocalyptic food shortage, in other words. But this is all because of the Russia and Ukraine war, folks. Russia's war on Ukraine is leading to an apocalyptic food shortage, coming from Andrew Bailey, right? That's what he told a committee of parliament. Bailey said the main issue is that the major global grain supplier, Ukraine's crops, cannot be exported due to the war. The head of the UN World Food Program, folks, the United Nations World Food Program, warned, quote, millions of people around the world will die if Ukraine's Black Sea ports continue to be blockaded by Russia. Last week, Italian League Party leader Matteo Salvini warned the looming food shortages due to the war could cause as many as 20 million people from Africa to migrate to Europe. This is interesting. Millions are going to die. 20 million are going to migrate. This is all Russia's fault because of their blockade. You mean blockading Russia's ability to do business, as in taking them off the SWIFT system, denying them access to the international Visa card system? That's just fine. It's just fine. Screw 100 million Russian people. Who cares about them? They can all die. But we need to worry about other people, right? But when they say, millions of people are going to die, is that the same million people that are going to die from starvation that were supposed to already be dead from cerveza bug? Yes, folks, people are going to be hungry. They're going to protest, riots, and even murder one another in year one of the Great Reset. It's coming. They're promising us, folks. They're doing everything in their power to make this happen. How about you? Starvation, are you going to allow it to hit you? Right? This doesn't have to be fear porn. This isn't fear porn anymore, folks. I'm telling you what they're saying. This is what they're predicting. The same people are talking about millions dying and starving, while that same country, the United Kingdom, wants this war to persist because they're continuing to encourage Ukraine to fight Russia. And they're continuing to try and train and arm them for the same purpose. And by pushing this, they're continuing to keep the seaports blockaded. They're continuing to keep everything going. Now America wants a ceasefire. No, you don't get a ceasefire. You get to surrender. Well, anyways, with regard to starvation and this whole war and blaming Russia, regardless, I don't plan on being so hungry that I hunt rats for my dinner. But I do plan on eating on a regular basis, even though it's not going to be filet mignon and lobster bisque for me every night. And I'm not part of the government. I don't get to eat that well at everyone else's benefit. But I will get to be eating on a regular basis because I, like you, am prepared, thanks to being a prepper. So get it together. Do it now, right? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, having a plan. It's not a joke. I mean, good golly. We're continuing to see that so many people treat this as if it is a short-term issue. They have created long-term issues for us, folks, long-term. But they want to continue to lie to us about the effects. So right now, get your questions in. Get them in. Get them into Jolene. So when we get to the Q&A session, it'll be your turn. And I want to thank you for sharing this video with others. I say tell a friend, and I say thank you. It's necessary for this channel to stay alive and survive. It's necessary for my conscience, because I have to tell people, get ready. Get ready. I went today and I got a haircut. right? Compared to my videos from this morning, I got a haircut. I went to an old-fashioned barber shop. I went in and I went, wow, now that smells like an old-fashioned barber shop, right? And there were old newspapers on the wall with old news stories from the area. It was like I stepped into a time machine to the 50s, right? There's old guys lined up to get their haircut. The actual barbers were a couple of ladies, but they were catering to these old guys. And when I say old, I mean they were in their 70s and 80s and 90s, couldn't hear, but they're there for their old guy haircuts. Got the shaving cream put all the way around my ear and on my neck, had my neck shaved, old-fashioned haircut, which is cool. But I was wearing this shirt, the Off-Grid Armory shirt. Thank you again to Christine B. Hanna for sending this one to me. And the barber ladies looked at me, I'm kind of the young guy there. And they said, we really like that shirt. We appreciate you wearing that shirt. And I said, really? And so it commenced with the haircutting process. And, they just said, we don't like what's going on. We're really proud of our local politicians for opening things up and freeing us. They were shut down for a while because of cerveza bug, almost lost their business, this old barber shop. People have had it with these lies. Right? These people looked at me like, what are you doing, young man? Right? Once again, when I stand up, I tower over other people. I'm very large. And they guessed, that I served. And, they want something done. Everyone wants something done. This is where you and I come in. We can do something. Yeah, it's freaking irritating to talk to people who you say, hey, look, make sure you get at least a couple of months worth of food. Get 3-4 months worth of food. Get some of those good water filtration things, right? And I love to say, I've got a website, thepreparedmind.club. Go check it out, right? You can get stuff you need to get prepared. There's so many people out there that want something to get done, and they just need to be told by one more person, get prepared, right? And so that's why I continue to push it. That is my job. It's kind of my mission. Now I want to get over and get into a little bit of discussion about what happened in the last couple of days, last couple of hours over in Ukraine. What happened was unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable. At least 300 Azov Ukrainian soldiers have surrendered. Remember, these are Nazis. They wear Nazi symbols, Nazi patches. They have Nazi tattoos. Everything from the SS to the swastika to the Black Sun, everything Nazi. And they've been holed up, folks, in that steel plant, the Azovstal plant in Ukraine. They've been there for weeks, right? They finally surrendered. I think the reason they didn't surrender is they thought that they were going to be killed by the Russians. The Russians accepted their surrender. They basically arrested them and put them on buses. They shipped them to a prisoner of war area. And those who are injured and need medical attention were taken to a hospital. Very interesting that they weren't just, executed on the spot, the way so many Russian soldiers were, and the way so many Russian sympathizers have had their lives ruined or been executed in the streets or had their property confiscated by Volodymyr Zelensky, the so-called freedom leader for Ukraine. Folks, who are the bad guys here and who are the good guys? I don't get to pick and tell people what to believe, but I can point out some interesting facts. Now, fascinating, folks, after a long, long standoff repeated bombings and their underground bunkers there and underground tunnel systems. The Russians have just kept at it and kept at it and kept at it until, yeah, that's right, one side has to surrender. And so the Ukraine army did. Isn't this interesting? This happened at the same time, folks, that Italy, France, and Germany called for a ceasefire after Secretary of Defense Lloyd the Loser Austin of the United States called for a immediate ceasefire. They wanted a ceasefire, right? Well, this is why, because they're losing. Now, the New York Times, folks, they did some bullshit spin on the news. They wrote that Ukrainian fighters evacuated the steel plant and that they didn't surrender, but rather they ended their campaign there. So that's how this, I mean, they worded it, the brave Ukrainian soldiers type stuff, you know, but they were evacuated. No, they didn't evacuate, they surrendered. But that's right, folks, the New York Times. This is what they do. They've got to put their spin on everything, folks. Their spin on everything. And here's something I can't really talk about. It's on Patreon only, right? The CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, has admitted something about the ineffectiveness of a certain Jim Jones juice. I can't give you the details, folks, but they've admitted now how ineffective it is and how long the tiny effectiveness that it does offer lasts. Unbelievable. So if you're on Patreon here, you can go take a look at that. When is this all going to blow up in their faces? They can't afford, folks, to have real Republicans get elected. They can't. They can't. And when I say real Republicans, listen to this. Out of the, 48, 49 so-called Republicans in the Senate, only 11 have decided to vote against the $40 billion in your money going to Ukraine. Mitch McConnell got the rest of the Republicans, all but 11. If you didn't vote against McConnell and against giving our money to a war effort that is a losing proposition and they know it, $40 billion to Ukraine, $85 billion to Afghanistan. Let's send troops to Somalia, right? So senators, folks, and Congress churches all ran for their lives, scared for their lives at the nearly dangerous, almost unpeaceful, mostly geriatric January 6th protest. Remember that? Oh, I feared for our lives. We had to run. Oh my God, we evacuated, right? But Pelosi, McConnell, Lloyd, lots of other politicians can just breeze into and out of a war-torn Ukraine, right? They're supposed to be a shithole of war, and they're just flying in and out on their big-ass government jets. They weren't scared of the Russians killing them. You know, the evil Russian Putin right there. Literally, folks, right over the border from Ukraine is Russia, the seat of the most evil ever. And they're just going to fly on and in and out of there like it's no big deal. But they're going to be afraid of a bunch of geriatric old protesters in D.C. Right? The Russians could have killed Pelosi and McConnell as easily as they killed every woman and child they ran across. Oh, wait, the Russians are all dead and the Ukraine army is the greatest ever. But they still need $40 billion of our money. Folks, this whole thing stinks. It's a sham. What do you think? What do you want to talk about? What's on your mind, right? It's hit the fan. We've told friends, we've told family, we're going to continue to do just that because they need a wake-up call. Everyone needs to continue to get a wake-up call, right? New York got a wake-up call today. It was cerveza bug error alert level is high. That's not going to help anyone. It's not going to help anybody. What is it that you guys want to talk about? It's time, folks. It's time.
Are you ready?
Everything about what these people do, folks. It's if it wasn't such huge theft and there was so much damage going on, I'd call it a joke. I'd say it's a big joke.
It's all just a big joke. It's a joke.
And that's how I feel. It's just a big joke, except it costs money. It costs lives. It's destroying children. It's ruining our country. Good golly. What is on your mind? What do you guys want to discuss? Well, let's hear it. We got Kathy Lemaster checking in. And she says, Biden's speech this morning in Buffalo turned from "we're sorry for your losses" to white supremacy and politics real fast. I wasn't trying to watch him. He just had to cut into my Y and R this morning. Yeah. It was a photo op, right? This was an opportunity for Biden to come out and not have to address the fuel shortage, the inflation, the baby food shortage, the southern border, the regular food shortages that are happening, the screwed up port system, the failure of the assistance in Ukraine to have a positive effect, meaning doesn't matter how much money we give to Ukraine, how much equipment we provide them, how much training, they're gonna lose to Russia. They need to avoid all that. So he goes and he takes an opportunity for a photo op so he can pander to people who are pissed off about what happened. They're hoping America will pay attention to that. Oh my gosh, a white guy killed people. Never mind that it's a radical left-wing socialist Biden lover who is also a racist who did this. But yeah, he turned it into white supremacy. You bet. And they turned it into a political platform from which he can talk. Now, of course, as we all know, Biden is not allowed to answer questions from the press. Right? He's not allowed to do that because he gets kind of confused. He starts speaking off the cuff, and who knows what he'll say. I have a funny feeling that at some point, right, he's just going to go off, and there is all going to be all kinds of foul, filthy profanity come from his mouth, including racial epithets. I'm waiting for that to happen, folks. I'm waiting for his Tourette's syndrome moment, his dementia dystopia explosion. It's coming, I'm sure. But anyways, thank you, Kathy, for all you do for us here, for providing great questions. And folks, there's some topics that are going to blow us away coming in the next few weeks. As much as we think we've seen it all, we've heard it all, that they can't surprise us, they're going to continue doing so. So we need to continue to pay attention. We need to continue to help others. We need them to find this by sending them that address right up there. So Latin American Preparedness checks in with us, and he says, shortages becoming more common, causing more inflation. We are entering the time of year with high electrical consumption, with outages likely in hot weather. What prep do you recommend for this situation? Oh, yeah. Okay. It's not even hot out yet. Now, I know someone, if they're in a hot area or a humid area, is going, hey, John, it's hot here. We all know that May 17th is not July and it's not August. It's not a hot Indian summer in early May. It's going to get a lot worse. And they're already letting us know, yeah, there's going to be brownouts, blackouts, rolling this and rolling that. They're going to do it, right? We're just now barely entering that time, and they're already letting us know. And shortages cause inflation because there are more people competing for less goods. And there's a lot more money out here competing at that. So you say we're entering the year with the time of year with high electrical consumption and outages. What prep do you recommend for this situation? My recommendation is get a kiddie pool. I'm not kidding, folks. Get a pool to cool yourself down. A kiddie pool. Get one of those blow-up ones. Get a plastic one. Fill it with water, right? And it'll cool you off if you can't already. it's going to be old school. When I was a kid, we didn't have air conditioning. I mean, it was part of life. Some cars had it, very few did. It used to be a luxury item. Air conditioning used to be a luxury item in cars as much as it was a luxury item in homes. You would have to, as a kid, we were just told, get outside, it's hot, right? Go play in the water, go play literally at the river, at the creek, at the pond, at the lake. Go find some water and cool yourself off. If you're older, of course, we can't go splashing around the lakes the way we did when we were kids. So take it easy. Shade trees are nice. Those things called Arizona misters are amazing, especially with a fan. And we're going to have to go old school. The alternative is your house is going to get hot and you're going to be freaking miserable as hell. You're going to be miserable as hell in there. You don't want to get suffer from heat exhaustion or heat stroke. So we're going to have to keep ourselves cool. Right now, power's out. Say the power goes out. You've got no refrigeration, no ice cubes, no way to stay cool that way. One of the solutions to this, of course, is solar panels and solar generators. Basically, a battery that converts solar power, stores it, and then converts it into energy you can use. My recommendation is you get enough solar power as backup. You start with it, keeping it charged, and you get a small refrigerator that can run off of a small amount of power. Just a tiny refrigerator, like those little ones that come in, you can get them at like any department store now, any store like a Walmart or a Target or Amazon. We don't have time to play fuck around at this point. I can't remember if we carry any small sized refrigerators, but getting one of those little apartment or school dorm style refrigerators, they run on very little electricity. And so that may be a way to keep cool drinks and even ice cubes. You can get mini freezers, right? But they take power. You've got to have electricity. If you don't have solar and you want to go with gasoline, get a little gas generator. But remember, it takes a long time for water to be converted into ice or things to get cold running off of generator power. So that is why solar is just kind of nice. It just kind of trickle charges and trickle powers the refrigerator. Another thing that I would recommend doing for dealing with this situation is being well stocked ahead of time. If you have a chest freezer, keeping it stocked, one, with frozen meat, very important. And number two, keeping it stocked with frozen ice. Going and buying pre-frozen ice or making your own ice blocks. Once you have a freezer and it's packed full of ice, whether it's ice, water, or meat or whatever, that's going to stay and keep itself cooler longer. The bigger the amount of ice you have, the longer it can stay frozen without thawing out. So as you go through brownouts and rolling blackouts and power out for 6 hours here and 8 hours there, your frozen goods will be fine. Your frozen goods will be fine. It's going to get difficult, folks. It's better to learn the smart way than the hard way. It's just better to learn that way. It's not going to be easy. It never is when times get really hard. So shortages, power blackouts, and heat. And heat pisses people off. Heat makes people mad. It gives them a short temper. Imagine what's going to happen with these left-wing lunatics when it gets hot this summer. We've only seen the start, by the way, of these scumbags, these goose-stepping liberals, right, that want to use intimidation against us. Let's take a look at this little brief clip one more time. Thank you. As far as the letters here, Jolene, if we could remove them, I want to talk about, what this means with regard to the summer.
I worry it could begin to look like intimidation when it's at someone's doorstep. I'm someone.
It's so funny. So does what Alito wrote. Looks the same way to me. Looks like intimidation.
Well,
and yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
But it also shows Alito what it feels like to lose your freedom of choice. He cannot leave the house easily, so maybe that's a good lesson for them.
Intimidation, intimidation, intimidation.
He cannot leave the house, cannot leave the house, cannot leave the house. It's a good lesson. It's a good lesson. It's a good lesson for them. To lose your freedom, to lose your freedom. It's a good lesson for them.
Obey. It's kind of the same thing.
What is incredible, folks, is that ruling still has not even come. It was a draft opinion. It was a draft majority opinion that was written by Justice Alito for the Roe v. Wade. Wait until the real opinion is finally released, and these people are going to lose their shit, folks. They're going to lose their shit, right? They want this abortion thing, and for them, it appears that it's going to be all that it takes to get them to go absolutely nuts, folks. And I know it's unbelievable. I know it's unconscionable, and I know it's stunning. But in California, folks, right? In California, they want to legalize the killing of newborn babies up to the age of 28 days after they're born. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. California, SB 2223. If you want to look it up, look it up. SB 2223. Okay, let's move on. We got some more comments, some more questions. It is the Q and the A. It is your time to shine. And this is Bonnie Blue, 2A, Second Amendment. She says, look for Israel to strike Iran soon to set back their nuclear program again. Recent military drill, quote, Operation Chariots of Fire. Meanwhile, Iran is requiring biometric ID and digital currency for food. Okay, where do we go with this one? Like, we need more stuff. And I'm glad you did bring this up, Bonnie, because it's not a one-dimensional SHTF. It's not in the West Coast or the East Coast or just down south in America. It's not just in Europe. It's not just Australia or China. It's everywhere. It's every country. Now, number one, does Israel have the guts, the spine? Do they have the chutzpah? Do they have the ability to go after Iran and bomb them? Well, history would indicate that yes, they do, because I think it was it 1982 or 1981? Way back then, folks, Israel had had enough of Iran's horseshit, and they flew their jets over to Iran and bombed the pudding out of them. And then they flew their jets back home, and that seemed to settle things for quite a while. I am not happy about war. I don't like seeing war. I don't like all this crap, but I'm not causing it. Neither are you. But can we expect this to happen? With all of the saber rattling, with all of the drum beating, the war drums, with all of the sanctions that are going on, yeah, you bet. Now, Iran has been sanctioned for a long, long time. They just have, right? They've been on the side of the bad guys for a long time. And for some reason, Barack Hussein Barry Soetoro Obama sent them literally pallets of cash. And interestingly, yeah, Barack Obama is no lover of Israel. Funny how this all plays out, does it not? So yeah, Iran is requiring biometric identification. I don't like that at all. And they're using digital currency, right, to get their food. They're having all kinds of problems. Now, see, as a free country, you can have a lot of trouble getting things when everything is open and everything is fine. As a sanctioned country, Iran is going to have an even harder time. And so they're trying to be smart about this. And it's incredibly tragic that in this world, people can't treat each other well. And it really isn't the people, I don't think, because I've known a number of Iranians, they call themselves Persians, who have always been good people. that the ones that I've met, they don't hate. They're not full of hatred and anger. You know, I've met people from around the world. They're good. It's the leaders that suck, folks. Really, it's the leadership. I think we can all settle on that. Whether, you know, it's in Israel or Europe or America or Iran or China or Japan, it's always the leaders. I know that there's problems with our independent individual cultures and religions and belief systems. I get it. There's problems, yeah, with the Taliban. You know, the typical Talibanese, not a good person. In fact, there was some news that popped up. The Taliban has decided to get rid of their human rights, human liberty, human decency. They're getting rid of all of the programs that were put in place by those wascally Westerners, right? No, they're ending it. Right? There's just their theocracy, and that's all there is to it. When you live in a world run by totalitarian knuckleheads, you're going to get totalitarian stupidity forced down your throat. Isn't that interesting, folks? Like if someone here in America told you, you know, Kathy or Bonnie or Jolene, if they told you you've got to wear a burqa, you'd be like, I don't think so. And then, you know, they would say something like Dr. Fauci, I don't like mandating things. I don't like punishing people for not doing something, right? I don't like mandating that you're going to be thrown in jail and beaten for not wearing a burqa, right? Same with me, right? They're like, you got to wear a mask. I'm like, I don't think so. Well, I don't like mandating it, but you're not doing as you're told, John. It's the same thing to me, what they're doing to us here that they're doing in other countries. Now, I know that there are some other places like, Afghanistan. What they're doing is extreme. It is radical. It is horrifying. What they're doing in all countries, mandating that people get RFID chips, you know, I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. And there's nothing we can do about it, folks. Nothing. We're going to have to fight through this. We got Heidi checking in. Heidi. And she says, question, what do you think about the FBI recruiting and training mentally disabled people to be terrorist patsies? This is terrible. We're seeing more and more of this, are we not? It appears that the ding dong in Buffalo had some mental problems. The Aurora, Colorado shooter, James, whatever, the guy who looked like a Joker, right? He had carrot orange hair, and his eyes were, you know, big as saucers. He seemed to be a drugged up, mind-controlled, mind-numb idiot. Adam Lanza, remember that name? Adam Lanza of Handy Sook. It seems like we have a lot of these people that have mental problems. They seem to have a connection to the intelligence community or law enforcement community. In fact, the guy who did the shooting in Buffalo, he'd been a problem in the past. Once again, the FBI knew about him. Once again, the FBI didn't do anything. Kind of like the same fella there who in Waukesha, Wisconsin, the guy that ran into the crowd with his car, ramming everybody, old women, children, killing people. What a horrifying incident. And once again, someone who is a known problem. Now, I'm not a known problem. You're not a known problem, Heidi. None of us here are that I know of. We're all normal people. And we're not going off the deep end doing what these puppets do. And it seems like they always perform, or you could say they always lose their shit at politically opportune times. They need a distraction, folks. They need us to not pay attention to what's going on. We're paying attention. Hunter Biden laptop? Well, we got to hide that, right? The failure over in Ukraine? Well, we're going to need something new. How about some Ebola or maybe some more cerveza bug? They need to keep us distracted. They are having some huge, huge problems, folks, because their stories don't jive and they just appear to be absolutely criminal on every level. It is incredible. We've got the prepared mother. We got Jolene saying, I've been seeing claims that jabbed mothers are experiencing trouble lactating. If true and intentional, what could be the end game? I haven't heard that yet, so I wondered about it. I'd read a report yesterday having to do with the complications with sterility, heart problems, other health problems, carrying babies to full term. It would appear that baby formula is going to become a very necessary thing if mothers aren't going to be able to breastfeed their babies. There's all kinds of problems coming along. This whole thing about just incredible clots that are filling up the veins of some people, blood clots. We're into this crap a little over a year now, year and a half max, but a good solid year. And it scares the hell out of me to think what is happening, right? They're pushing for more boosters. They're pushing for more. They're saying that people over 50 are going to need to get Jim Jones juiced on a more regular basis, certainly every year. They're really pushing this stuff. And it's having a very, very negative effect on reproductive systems and the very basics of living. Liver problems, kidney problems, heart problems. Why anyone would continue to take this is beyond me, except that they believe that it's safe. They believe that it has an effect. And I've been circulating and received, a lot of information from people about the dangers of this Jim Jones juice. I try and make light of it because of satire, but on the more serious note, it's scaring the living shit out of me because I'm continuing to see and hear about medical problems that are the consequence of it. The damage is done. It's poison. Who's going to accept responsibility for this? Right? As long as we have Biden in office, it's not going to change. It's not. As long as we have Democrats in Congress, it's not going to change. As long as Dr. Fauci is in charge, we're not going to get a different answer. In fact, I think that the system is so bad that we won't get an answer even if we got a different doctor or even a different president. I just don't think they're going to change. I think they're going to keep pushing this. It is the massive power of corporate control through their funding of political campaigns and their control that they have over politicians. The same way I mentioned, why is it that out of the 49 Republicans in the Senate in Washington, only 11 said no to sending money over to Ukraine? The rest went right along with it. They went right along with Mitch McConnell, who had no problem flying in and out of Ukraine, a war-torn country. Right? I think that these people have an incredible amount of power, and it's going to take a long time to weed them out and get them out. This is going to be a long, hard fight. We're in big trouble, folks. We need to keep fighting. DD checks in and says, John, how likely is a bail-in, or will they just print into oblivion? Also, will they raise gas through the roof to force us into electric cars versus rationing versus an increase in tax miles versus, oh yeah, we've got all kinds of problems here, folks. This is great, Dee. Thank you very much. The bail-in, folks, is the opposite of a bailout for banks. They've had in place for a long time now the ability for the banks to confiscate your deposits, your funds. So you have a bank account. and the bank goes broke, belly up. And so instead of getting a bailout from the government, they look to the deposits, the bail-in. They're no longer deposits. When you give money to your bank now that you think is going into the vault and it's your money, that's considered now an unsecured loan. You're loaning your money to the bank, and it does whatever it wants with the money. It lends it out to someone else. It invests in Wall Street. And we saw what happened on Wall Street, did we not? The huge come down, that money, folks, that was banks also. Banks that have your money that's no longer your money. So they could just keep your money to satisfy their debt, say, sorry, you don't have any more money. It's all gone, right? And it's gone. Your money's gone. And it's gone. Yeah, they could do that. But it looks like the Federal Reserve, to the extent that it can, is going to continue to print money and bail out banks and corporations. They're going to continue, folks, most importantly of all, to bail out the government. The Federal Reserve and the Treasury Department will continue to print and print and print so that the federal government can spend and spend and spend. That's what they're going to do. Now, as far as gas prices, they're going to continue to raise those gas prices through the roof, all the way to the clouds. They want to force everyone into electric cars. They're going to ration fuel. You bet. They're going to increase the per mile tax. There's been some discussion about taxing your vehicles per mile on the road. Now, understand this. When you go to the gas pump, you pay a tax. In California, you pay a state and a federal tax for your fuel. And they're supposed to use that to fix the roads. The federal government is supposed to use it to fix the highways, right? Well, if electric vehicles don't use gas, they're not paying the road tax like the rest of us are. So yeah, they're going to push everyone into EVs, and then they're going to charge a by the mile tax. You bet. They're going to do everything they can to squeeze every penny out of us and make our lives as incredibly difficult as possible. Right? If you've got an e-bike or an e-scooter, right, an electric scooter or electric bike, they'll probably end up trying to find a way to make those get registered or taxed or something as well. Right? There's going to be no one. I mean, you can kind of dance between the raindrops and avoid the tax man, but they're going to come after us all because the government, they are, folks, up to their necks in debt, and they won't stop spending. They can't stop spending. They can't stop printing. Inflation is an invisible tax. I'm sure you've heard it referred to that many times. Inflation is an invisible tax. Your money disappears, but what does it do, right? How does that work? Well, the government, right? Inflation. If they can inflate away the value of the money, then they can inflate away the real value of the debt they have accumulated. Now, kind of against that is they're raising interest rates again. Well, like you and I, the government, the United States government, has to pay back money it borrows from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve creates those dollars out of thin air, folks. Like a freaking genie. They snap their fingers and pow, a few keystrokes, and they just created $1 trillion. Here you go, federal government. Here's $1 trillion. Oh, by the way, you have to pay us back with interest. So then the bank is like, we just made up money, the Federal Reserve Bank. We just made up money out of thin air, and they're going to pay us back with extras, right? We gave them $1 trillion. They're going to have to give us $1.1 billion back in interest. And so then they get to go buy their yachts and their houses, and they get to pay their bills with interest on money that they create out of thin fucking air. And that's how that system works. And they can't stop that. They've got to keep going. But with interest rates going up, the Federal Reserve Bank is going to get even more money back. And you and I are going to have to pay even more money, right, in interest on credit cards, car loans, house loans, whatever. That's why being debt-free is one of those good things. Being debt-free is good. Now, we've got big trouble. Whether it's banking, whether it's the economy in general, everything is in big, big trouble. Now we got Anita F checking in with a question. She says, I am driving to my child's wedding in mid-June, about 900 miles. We're very nervous to be this far from home as the deterioration continues. What should we prepare for regarding this trip? It is nerve-wracking, Anita. I get it. Sometimes I don't like to go 50 miles because then I think, well, that's 50 miles. I may have to walk back. And at 10 miles a day, that's going to take me 5 days. That's a long time and a lot of miles. There's really no way around it. If you've got an automobile, you can carry gas cans legally. Make sure you do it legally in your trunk. And you could carry 5, 10, 15 gallons of fuel. Make sure that they are Department of Transportation, DOT approved fuel containers. And that could give you some peace of mind, right? You're going 900 miles. How far will 15 gallons get you? Well, it could get you from one town that has no fuel to the next town that does, or the next town after that, right? Because we're going to see the potential for fuel shortages, fuel rationing. It's going to be a bitch. It's not going to be fun. So getting back, right? It's tough. 900 miles, that's probably 3 tankfuls, depending on what kind of vehicle you have. If you've got a pickup truck, you can definitely carry more fuel than the average bear, than the average automobile. The other thing I would do is make sure you have the ability to legally defend yourself. And I know that's a tricky thing because you're going to be crossing state lines. Some states do not respect the Second Amendment the way other states do. So preparations, if you're going to take self-defense items, make sure you understand the laws of each state in which you travel, in case you get pulled over and they give you a hard time or try and arrest you. Always crazy stuff, right? The Arizona concealed weapons permit is good in 39 states. Where is it? 38. Any way you look at it, that's a good one. Okay, then moving along here, and the idea, things are going to deteriorate. There's no way around that, right? You need to keep an eye on the news, be aware of what's happening. Are there any local issues? Are there regional issues? Is everything just fine and quiet? See, if everything's fine and quiet, not a lot going on, you're good. But you're looking at mid-June. That's about a month from now. You know, things could change very differently between now and then and affect the way you feel about traveling. A lot of people will bypass large cities. Like 2 years ago, you would bypass and stay the hell out of Chicago or Atlanta. You stay the hell out of cities that were having a lot of BLM and Antifa, right? You just go around it. You would bypass it. It would add some miles and add some time to your trip, but it would help you avoid the discomfort. At the same time, you get to see some countryside that you typically can't see from an interstate. Because if you're traveling 900 miles, I'm sure you're going to make your way over to, at the very least, the state highway and probably an interstate just to make time. And speaking of time, we are past the hour. Awesome questions in the Q&A. Thank you for joining me at the Prepared Mind channel. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for all that you do. All that you do. Never give up. Never stop fighting, folks. We can and we will win this. But that doesn't make the pain, the suffering, the difficulty, the hardships of SHTF any less terrible. It's the best way I can put it. It's going to be terrible. If you've got a child and you can't get formula, it's terrible. If you're being forced to wear a mask, it's terrible. If you're being forced to wear a burqa, it's terrible. If you're being told you can't travel or go somewhere, it's terrible. Right? Everything is terrible with what's coming. Tell me one good thing that's happened with Joe Biden. Not a thing. He's not doing a damn thing that's good. So we have to do the good for ourselves. We need to be prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan. Get it together. Go to thepreparedmind.club, and thank you for supporting us through the entire Prepared Mind network, theRsyndicate.com. God bless America. Semper Fi.
because this MAGA crowd is really the most extreme political organization that's existed in American history.
Have you any idea how successful censorship is on TV? Don't know the answer? Successful, isn't it?